Once upon a shimmer-soft morning in a land kissed by sunlight and dreams, there lived a young girl whose heart glowed brighter than the dawn itself. Her name was Cinderella, and she was so gentle and kind that even the flowers seemed to lean toward her when she passed, as if drawn by the warmth of her spirit. Long ago, her mother had left the world behind, becoming a tender memory that lived quietly in Cinderella's heart, a memory she carried like a soft lullaby whispered in moments of loneliness. After her mother's passing, her father raised her with patience and love, filling their home with laughter, care, and gentle lessons of kindness. And for a time, Cinderella believed happiness would always remain. But fate, silent and slow, had other plans. When her father remarried, everything changed. Not suddenly, not loudly, but quietly. Her new wife did not come alone. She brought with her 2 daughters, girls who filled the house with noise, wants, and watchful eyes. Her new stepmother's eyes sparkled with jealousy, and her 2 daughters were loud, spoiled, and cruel, whispering behind their hands as they watched Cinderella move gracefully through the house, envying the beauty and kindness she carried without effort. At first, Cinderella tried to please them, believing kindness might soften their hearts, but each smile was met with scorn. While her father lived, the house held its breath. Smiles were worn carefully. Cruelty waited quietly. But when her father was gone, the masks fell away, and the home she once knew was never the same. One day, while Cinderella wandered through the garden, speaking softly to her beloved birds as they fluttered around her, she was sharply called inside. Her stepmother stood tall, her voice cold and final as she declared,
"From today on, you will sleep in the attic, you will handle all the chores, and those clothes, never let me see them again."
Cinderella's hands trembled, but she nodded silently. That same evening, she packed her few belongings and climbed the narrow stairs to the dusty attic, a place filled with cobwebs, broken furniture, and silence. From that day on, Cinderella began to do all the housework all on her own, rising before sunrise and working long after nightfall, scrubbing floors until they shone, carrying water until her arms ached, washing clothes, and downstairs her stepmother and stepsisters lived in comfort. They lounged in soft chairs, soaking their feet and eating fruit, laughing loudly as they pointed toward the tired girl. "Cinderella, the floor is still dusty," one snapped. "And my laundry, what am I supposed to wear?" another complained. Though Cinderella grew very tired, neither her stepmother nor her stepsisters felt even the smallest bit of pity for her. One bright morning, as Cinderella swept the floor with aching arms, a royal announcement echoed through the town, carried by trumpets and excited voices. "By order of the king, a grand royal ball will be held. Every maiden of age may attend." The stepsisters leapt with excitement, squealing, "We'll be the most beautiful. The prince will choose one of us." Their stepmother clapped her hands sharply and commanded, "Come along, girls. We must buy gowns and jewels at once." Cinderella watched them leave, her heart fluttering with a quiet, fragile hope she barely dared to name. In the days that followed, preparations filled the house. Cinderella worked from morning to night, sewing, cleaning, and cooking, while her stepsisters barked orders. "Cinderella, prepare our bath, quickly," they shouted. On the day of the ball, she helped them dress, fastening ribbons and smoothing silk, until at last she gathered her courage and softly asked, "Stepmother, may I go to the ball too?" Her stepmother turned slowly, eyes sharp with amusement. "You?" Cinderella swallowed and said, "Yes, it was announced that all young girls may attend." The response came as cold laughter. "In that dress, the prince seeks a bride, not a servant." When the house finally fell silent and the sound of the carriage faded into the distance, Cinderella sat alone, tears shimmering on her cheeks as she whispered into the empty room, "If only my parents were here. If only someone cared." Suddenly, a warm golden light filled the space, wrapping around her like an embrace, and a gentle voice spoke, "My sweet Cinderella, dry your tears. You shall go to the ball." Cinderella gasped in disbelief. "Me? But look at me. I have nothing." The voice answered softly, "All you need is faith, dear. Now bring me a pumpkin and 7 little mice." In a swirl of sparkling magic, the pumpkin transformed into a golden carriage. The mice became a driver and 6 white horses, and Cinderella looked down at herself in awe as her tattered clothes blossomed into a breathtaking gown. "I look like a princess," Cinderella whispered, her voice trembling as she gazed at her reflection, scarcely daring to believe the miracle before her eyes. Where rags had once hung loosely, now flowed a gown of shimmering beauty, soft as moonlight and radiant as a dream. At her feet, glass slippers appeared, forming delicately as if sculpted from frozen starlight, catching every spark of magic in the room. The fairy godmother smiled warmly, her eyes filled with knowing kindness.
Be back by 12 o'clock, or else the magic won't work.
Cinderella nodded, pressing the moment into her heart, and stepped into the golden carriage as it rolled away beneath a sky dusted with stars. At the palace gates, music softened and laughter stilled as Cinderella entered the grand hall. Conversations faded into whispers, and every eye turned toward her. Even her stepmother froze in place, her breath catching as disbelief crossed her face. She could not recognize the radiant young woman before her. The stepsisters stared openly, envy tightening their expressions, though none dared speak. Then the prince stepped forward, his gaze steady and captivated, as though the entire world had narrowed to that single moment.
"Most enchanting lady, may I have this dance?"
As they moved together across the ballroom floor, it felt as though time itself had slowed. Music wrapped around them like a spell, and Cinderella laughed softly, her worries dissolving with every step. They spoke of small things, of gardens, of stars, of dreams, yet each word carried a deeper understanding, as if their hearts already knew one another. The prince's laughter echoed warmly, and Cinderella felt lighter than she ever had before, as though she were finally seen, not for her labor, but for who she truly was. But then, above the music, a distant sound rang out, the first warning chime of the clock. Cinderella's heart tightened. She looked up, eyes wide, counting the seconds as panic crept in. No, it can't be," she whispered. As the final chimes approached, she pulled away suddenly, her breath shallow. "I must go," she said urgently, turning from the prince before he could stop her. She ran from the ballroom, silk skirts gathered in trembling hands, her footsteps echoing down the marble stairs. And as she fled into the night, one glass slipper slipped from her foot, left gleaming on the palace steps. Behind her, the clock struck 12. With the final chime, the magic shattered like glass. Her carriage vanished, her gown faded, and as she fled into the night, back in the quiet darkness of the attic, Cinderella sat alone once more, clutching her knees as the night replayed itself in her mind. The music, the laughter, the prince's kind eyes. Though the magic was gone, hope still flickered softly in her heart. Far away, the prince stood holding the glass slipper, his voice filled with determination as he declared to the kingdom, "Find her. Find the owner of this slipper. Search every home if you must." And so the royal guards traveled from house to house until at last they reached Cinderella's home. When Cinderella tried to follow them downstairs,
You truly amuse me with your insolence. But make no mistake, girl. Your place is right where I tell you it is. Get out of my sight before I lose my patience.
without waiting for an answer, she shoved Cinderella into her room and slammed the door shut, locking it tight. Downstairs, the stepsisters groaning and complaining as it refused to fit. Upstairs, Cinderella sank to the floor, tears streaming as she whispered helplessly, "She took the key. I can't get out." Just then, a soft scratching sound reached her ears. Her brave little mouse friend appeared, pushing the key beneath the door. With trembling hands, Cinderella unlocked it and rushed downstairs. "I want to try the slipper too," she said quietly, her voice steady despite the disbelief filling the room. Her stepmother gasped, face pale. How did you escape?" Before she could interfere, the royal guard stepped forward, his voice firm and unwavering. Silence. The prince decreed that every maiden must try. Cinderella knelt, and as the slipper slid onto her foot, it fit perfectly.
Welcome to our castle. I am so glad you could make it this evening. You are my destiny, my love. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Tears of joy shimmered in Cinderella's eyes as she nodded, her smile brighter than any crown. And so, from sorrow and hardship, bloomed a future woven with love.